That time of the year, let's break down some NFL prospects. What is up, Fin fans and football fans? You never know. Might not be Dolphin fans watching this video, because in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the top quarterback prospects in the 2020 NFL draft. I only got about 4 in here. I know a lot of people want to talk about Jalen Hurts, from Eason, all those guys, but I'm sticking to the top 4. I'm sticking to mostly the guys that are probably going to go in that first round. So I'm talking about the top 4. I'm going to be talking about them, listing them from 4 to 1. My favorite being number 1, and I'll explain to you as I'm moving up why they're ranked where and kind of where I would expect them to get drafted and who I could expect to be taking them. But before we jump into that real quick, my last video I made, I wanted to do something special for you guys. I wanted to do 50% off on my merch with that promo code. Unfortunately, the way that Teesprings works is you could set up promo codes and they won't tell you whether the promo code isn't working because of X, Y, and Z, or hey, this promo code won't be in effect because of this, this, and that. They'll just let you make promo codes, send out the promo codes, and not inform you, hey, they don't work. But the way Teesprings works is you set your own price. You set your own price on your merchandise, but there's only a limit. So I couldn't set my price on my merch at like $9 for t-shirts, because then there'd be no profit in it. So the reason why my t-shirts and hoodies are at the price they are is because it's the bare minimum of profit for me. I think I make $1 every time you guys buy a shirt, because I have it as low as a price as I possibly can to make it fair for you guys. So when I was ambitious and I wanted to take 50% off the merch, Teesprings is saying, well, you can't, because then we get no money out of the situation. So I'm trying to figure out a way to thank you guys again for helping me break 10K. I'm going to do a giveaway again. I'm working on it. So like usual, before we jump into the prospects videos and all that jazz, I got trivia for you guys. You guys are watching this on a Thursday. I'm recording this on a Wednesday night. Here is your trivia for today. This is Dolphins trivia for the guys who are new to the channel. First off, thank you for subscribing. If you have subscribed, if you're waiting till the end, I totally understand, because why would you subscribe if you don't like what you see? Here's a Dolphins trivia. Who posted 47 tackles to lead the Dolphins defensive linemen in that category in 2017? You'll be surprised. 2017. Remember, 2017. Give you guys the answer right before comment of the day. Let's jump into this and let's get going, because guys, I don't know if you can see, I have like notes on notes on notes for these prospects. I got a ton of notes. Let's jump right into this. My number 4 quarterback prospect. Now, again, this is my opinion. I'll give you guys my thoughts. I'll give you guys their pros, their cons, their stats, give you some of their accolades, some of their accomplishments, all that stuff. So again, this is my opinion. After looking at this stuff, after looking at their film, after doing all that stuff, this is my opinion. You might have a different opinion. You might have people listed differently. I hope you do, and I hope you comment it below. For me, the number 4 quarterback when it comes to the top quarterbacks in this draft is Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. He's 6'4", 223 pounds. Now, this guy, he's got the physicality and the height and everything of a quarterback. He's got the great size, great mobility, and he's super athletic. Hits the throws on the move, and that's why a lot of people tend to associate him with Patrick Mahomes. He's very good at hitting the throws on the moves. His mechanics are good no matter where he's throwing the ball. Any position where he's throwing the ball, good mechanics, really quick release when he's getting that ball out, which is very, very important. You don't want to have a Tim Tebow style release where your arm drops down and then you throw. You want to have that quick release where it's a quick motion. You don't want to have a slow, fluid turn motion, because then when you see pressure coming at you, you want to get the ball off like that. That's why that was one of Tim Tebow's biggest problems. So he's got a quick release, which is really good. Stays in the pocket and keeps his eyes down the field. Also very, very important. He tests the man coverage, and he loves to throw in between the zones. Now, that is a positive, but then when we get to the cons, you'll notice that's somewhat of a negative. He likes to test the man coverage, and he likes to thread that needle in between the two zones. And his arm talent, he can make any throw. He's got really, really good arm talent. So when you're looking at the pros, like I said, great size, great mobility, can make the throws on the run, stays in the pocket, got a quick release, all great things. Now, these are all things that you want in a quarterback. when I talk about these quarterbacks, there's a lot of things you can't teach. And if the quarterback doesn't have things you can't teach, it's hard for you to take that quarterback. There's things you can teach: pocket presence, reading a defense, your progression on your reads. These are all things you can teach. Certain things you can't teach. And a lot of what this guy has, which is size, mobility, arm strength, something you can't teach. Now, here are his cons. He needs to improve his field vision and his mindfulness. So a lot of what that entails is looking off his safeties, knowing where this coverage is, press coverage, all that stuff. He fails to recognize coverage rotations. So if he notices, like if the defense brings their safeties down, drops their corners back, shifts linebackers, all that stuff, if they start to move the defensive rotation, he tends to have a hard time recognizing that. He throws careless jump balls. That kind of goes into one of his pros where he likes to test man coverage. Sometimes he'll just chuck it up and pray to God that his player, will come up with it. That's not great. His internal clock tends to be slow, which that's not good either, especially when if you recognize a blitz is coming off the edge, right? You got a four-man in front of you, and you recognize that outside linebacker or that corner, or heck, the safety even comes up, and they're going to be blitzing off that edge. And you're in a empty back set, so you don't have a running back or a tight end to block that guy. You need to know internally, all right, my left tackle or my right tackle is going to bump this blocker, but there's only so many guys that these guys can block. I need to understand I need to get the ball out at a certain time. His internal clock's slow, which will cause sacks. And he needs more consistency with his timing and his progression. And again, the progression of first, depending on the play, a lot of plays you'll have your primary target and then your secondary progression, and then the timing of it. If the receiver's about to break, get that ball out. Got pressure on you, get the ball out. So Jordan Love, he's got a lot of good attributes. A lot of the things that are his negatives can be taught, especially when it comes to consistency on the timing and the progression, his internal clock, his throwing careless jump balls, and, recognizing, like, a lot of this can be taught. Now, where do I see Jordan Love going? I do have him ranked as my fourth quarterback out of the top 4. If the Colts didn't trade for Buckner, I'd have him going to the Colts at 13. I'd have him going to the Colts at 13. Tampa Bay is another possibility for Jordan Love at 14. Maybe even Atlanta. There's some of these teams that you'd be surprised if they took a quarterback. Like Atlanta. Matt Ryan, how much longer is Matt Ryan going to be there? And again, the Dolphins are there at 18. Hey, if we don't take a quarterback with that first pick at 5, and then all of a sudden Jordan Love's at 18, I wouldn't be upset with taking Jordan Love at 18. I don't see him really falling past 18. Some draft experts do see him going past 18. Some of them see him going ahead and have Herbert falling past 18. But with Jordan Love, I can see, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, even the Dolphins taking Jordan Love middle to late first round. Now, my number 3 prospect is Justin Herbert, Oregon quarterback, 6'6", 227. The man is tall. I'm 6'5", and he's got an inch on me. The man is tall. He's got that quintessential quarterback size. He's got the arm, and he's got a little bit of that mobility as well. Capable of making every throw with that arm strength and the velocity, threads the needle in between double coverage. Another thing that he does well, keeps his eyes down the field under pressure and outside of the pocket, which is huge. That is something that you'll notice with a lot of these mobile quarterbacks, successful mobile quarterbacks, aka Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, even a little bit with Lamar Jackson. When they get out of the pocket, they still keep their eyes down the field to try to get that ball out because they don't want to take the hit or have to run. But, it seems like Lamar Jackson likes to run first. And he has the physical traits to work off the script, which means that if he wants to run, if he wants to take off, he can. He's got that physical attributes. He's got the speed, and he can do what he needs to do. Now, is he fast like Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, even Patrick Mahomes, even Russell Wilson? No. I think Ryan Tannehill was a little bit faster than him, but he still has the physical attributes and the stuff to do that. Now, his cons, the downside to him, he locks on to some of his guys and he has a slow progression. So he tends to lock on to one of his wide receivers. And if that wide receiver tends to not be open, it kind of makes him get a little bit of a hiccup. So if there's an out route, a go route, a comeback route, and all of a sudden he's drops back and notices that guy's covered, he kind of stutters a little bit to go to his next progression. Something that, again, is something that can be worked on and can be taught. He has some frustrating accuracy misfires. Now, that was the thing that I heard a lot about Herbert is he's got the arm strength, he's got the power, everything. Heck, we saw that video of him throwing a 60-yard pass from the end zone. Like, ridiculous. It's the accuracy issues. Pressure can affect his mechanics as well. So when he drops back and he feels that pressure, he can try to get that ball out quick, and it can mess up his throwing motion and his footwork and his mechanics. He needs a better job of IDing the pressure before the snap. Now, that's something that we noticed with Josh Rosen. When it comes to Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he came in that Redskins game, and all of a sudden we started to come back in that Redskins game, is because Fitz, being that vet, being that 14, 15-year vet, he knew how to ID the pressure, shift the line, have people stay in to block, have his tight end either chip block, have his running back chip block, but he knew, okay, this is where the pressure is coming from. I can ID it, and I can help myself. Josh Rosen couldn't, and it hurt him. This Justin Herbert also has that same problem. He takes sacks and hurries that are his own fault. Now, again, this is going to anger a few people, but Justin Herbert has a lot of comparisons to Ryan Tannehill. That con right there, he takes sacks and he gets hurried and it's his own fault. That is where I'm like, yeah, that's Ryan Tannehill in a nutshell. Not saying any more. But when we first had Ryan Tannehill for about the first 4 years, he kind of took some sacks that were his own fault. Now, I can already hear you guys being like, he had no offensive line. Go back. He actually had a pretty decent offensive line. He kind of took some sacks on his own. He had concrete feet. He would stare down his receivers. That's one of the cons for Justin Herbert. And as much as Justin Herbert on the run keeps his eyes down the field and has that mobility, he needs to be more consistent with throwing the ball on the move. Now, Justin Herbert, I have him ranked third. He's another guy that I can see going ahead of Jordan Love. Now, some people think that Justin Herbert's going to be going to Miami at 5. I don't know if Miami's going to pull the trigger at Justin Herbert at 5, but if he doesn't, you got a team like the Carolina Panthers, you got a team like the LA Chargers. Now, I understand the Carolina Panthers have Teddy Bridgewater, but it doesn't hurt to bring in some competition. But you got the LA Chargers, Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, they have Minshew, but you never know. And the Raiders at 12. These are the teams that could potentially take him. And essentially every quarterback I'm going to talk about is going to be associated with the Dolphins. So yes, the Dolphins could take him at 5. You got the Chargers at 6. Potentially the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9. Probably not. They'd probably trade back if he was there and someone wanted him. Or the LA Raiders at 12. So think Dolphins, Chargers, Raiders could go for a Justin Herbert type situation. Now, my number 2. My number 1 and my number 2 were hard for me. My number 2, it came down to one major thing for the reason why he was 2 and the other person was 1. Now, a lot of you people have been asking me a lot like, well, who would you take at 5? And who's your number 1 quarterback? And who's all these things? And you're going to get your answer right now. I'll tell you guys exactly why this person's number 2 to me, and then you can accept it or get mad at me or all other stuff. And my number 2 quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa. And yes, it is pronounced Tagovailoa. I looked it up. I literally watched a video, him sitting down saying how to pronounce his last name, Tagovailoa. It's Tagovailoa, not Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa. He's my number 2 quarterback. Now, quarterback out of Alabama, a 6'1" quarterback, 219 pounds. A lot of you guys were saying to me, well, he's undersized. He's 6'1". Drew Brees is 6 foot. Michael Vick was 6 foot. Russell Wilson is 5'11". So 6'1", 219 pounds, 2017 national championship. Came in for Jalen Hurts halfway through the season. Now, let's talk about his pros, and then we'll get to his cons, and then I'll tell you why he's my number 2. I think you guys know why he's my number 2. If you don't know a lot about Tua, which I can expect a lot of you guys do know a lot about Tua, come under pressure and he keeps his eyes down the field. Now, a lot of what you're going to hear his pros is a lot in the pocket. He does have some mobility, but a lot of it has to do with his mechanics. Great pocket presence. He isn't tall, but he does have a big frame to be able to take the tackles. Frame. Again, I will talk about the cons because I just said he's got a big frame that he could take the hits. Well, what was an injury? I'll talk about that. Great accuracy on all levels of the field. Mid, deep, shallow passes, great accuracy. That's one of the things that's the biggest about Tua, his smarts and his accuracy. Great pre-snap and reading coverages. Huge. Like I said, the thing about Tua, between the ears, great stuff there. Hits throws with anticipation. Great drop back motion. He runs a pro-style offense in Alabama. So he does take snaps under center. He knows how to drop back. He doesn't have lanky footwork. Great stuff there. Runs that pro-style offense. So when going into the NFL, he is a little bit more ready for what the NFL is going to throw at him versus the NFL team have to change up their style of offense to cater to the quarterback that they're going to draft. Now, like I said, Tua, he's got it. He's got the pass. He's got the accuracy. He can read the defense. Great pocket presence. Can get out of there if he needs to. All that stuff. Here's his cons, right? Why is he number 2? And you guys know who number 1 is, but I'm not going to say it yet because why would I wait? Why is he number 2, Doug? Because of the hip injury. That is the only reason I put Tua at number 2 is because of the hip injury. He broke his finger in 2018 of March. Didn't hold him out of a game. He, sprained his knee and hurt his quad in 2018, October of 2018. And he had the tightrope surgery in 2018. Now, that tightrope surgery is so the sprained ankles don't happen anymore. And now his ankle is actually 10 times stronger than it was before the injury. So the surgeries were nothing. Don't look at the surgeries as those are the things. The thing that is the biggest is that hip injury. Now, if you remember in my pros, I said, he isn't tall, but he has a big frame. That hip injury was pure fluke. It's the same thing like when Albert Wilson got injured. He took a wrong step trying to make a play, and he got hurt. It happens. It's not something that you'll see, every Sunday, but it happened, and it's the main reason I had him at number 2 for me was the injury. That hip injury, I could not put him at number 1. Now, other cons that he has, his arm strength. He doesn't have that great of an arm. He doesn't have that strong of an arm, but he does have the accuracy, the be able to read the defense, the know-how, the pocket presence, all that stuff. So it kind of makes up for that arm strength. But that is something you can't teach, is that arm strength. He hurries his throws with moderate pressure at times. So sometimes he does let the pressure get to him and he tends to hurry his throws. And that's where those few interceptions that he has thrown, especially at the LSU game last year, where the first 2 or 3 series, he kind of fumbled and he threw an interception. At times he lets that get to him. That's something that can be taught. He also takes unnecessary sacks at time. And a lot of you guys have pointed this out to me. That hip injury probably was an unnecessary sack where he could have just got rid of the ball instead of trying to make something. So that is the reason I have Tua at 2 and not number 1. If he never had, and I've said this time and time again, if he never had that hip injury, he would be the number 1 quarterback. And I feel like a lot more people would try to be moving up to get Cincinnati's pick number 1 to take Tua. Now, when looking at Tua, when it comes to the draft, a lot of people are trying to, where's he going? Who's going to take him? His medical is coming back great. He's releasing videos of him working out, all this stuff. Who's going to take him? Could Cincinnati surprise the world and take Tua at number 1? I honestly don't think that'll happen. I think they'll take the number 1 guy, Joe Burrow, and I'll talk about that in a second. Could Washington say, screw it, Dwayne Haskins, you didn't tend to pan out for us. We got a new coach in Ron Rivera. We're going to take Tua. Will he fall to the Dolphins at 5? If he falls to the Dolphins at 5, Doug, would you be happy taking Tua? Yeah, I'd be all right with taking Tua at 5. We got 2 other first-round picks, so we can address the offensive lineman, running back, safety position. I'd be cool with taking Tua at 5. I'm not trading up for any quarterback in this draft. I don't care if it is Joe Burrow, and I will talk about Joe Burrow in a second. So there. Could the Chargers jump in front of Miami to take Tua? Could another team like the Raiders try to get at 5 if the Dolphins don't want Tua, take him there? Whole realm of possibility with Tua. Tua is the biggest question mark in this draft because of his injury. We can't predict the future on him. He could play another 10, 15 years, prove everyone wrong, never miss a game. Or he could play 2 years, have another hip injury, his career's over. We don't know. A lot of people who hate him want to predict it, but we don't know. So that is Tua, my number 2 guy. Now, you guys obviously already know who my number 1 is. That is Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. He is 6'4", 216 pounds. National champion last year, Heisman winner last year, had a ton of records broken. He's the guy. He's the guy that everyone has Cincinnati taking number 1. Let's talk about his pros and his cons. Pros, the man is accurate. The man is absolutely accurate, throws his guys open. He's great at pre-snap reads, got a great football knowledge. His father was a football coach. Great stuff there. Great pocket presence and footwork. Keeps the eyes down the field, and he doesn't feel the pressure. These are all things. Him and Tua. I'm telling you, if Tua didn't have that hip injury, because listen to it, it's the same things. Keeps the eyes down the field, great pocket presence, accurate throwing, all that great stuff. Great accuracy on the move. Leadership traits. That's the one thing too that kind of is a little knock on Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow, even Tua. They have great leadership. They will command a huddle. They will command that locker room. Great leadership stuff. Now, Joe Burrow has pretty much everything. That's what everyone's saying. And you watch his tape, he does his thing. Now, the biggest knock between Tua and Joe Burrow is a lot. When Tua's season started, 2018 season started, and there was the whole thing about the Dolphins are tanking for Tua. A lot of Dolphin fans that didn't want him, a lot of people that thought it was stupid, came out and said, well, Tua has the players around him. Tua never plays anyone hard. Tua this, Tua that. But no one really talks about that with Joe Burrow. Now, I'm not talking about Joe Burrow playing hard opponents. I'm saying Joe Burrow had a great team around him. Great wide receivers. Yes, he threw them open. Yes, you have to catch the ball, but you also have to make the pass 100%. But you can't say one without the other. Now, let's talk about the cons for Joe Burrow. The man's turned 24. Josh Rosen is younger than Joe Burrow. He's a 5-year college player, right? He doesn't have that elite arm strength or the power. It's the same thing with Tua, where they don't have that arm strength. Now, if you look at Justin Herbert and Jordan Love, they have the arm strength, but not everything else, where with Tua and Joe Burrow, they have everything else, but not that arm strength. As much as we talk about the accuracy and as much as with Tua, we talk about, sometimes that pressure gets to him and he hurries up his throws. The similarity with Joe Burrow, where he isn't immune to throwing flat foot off his back foot when he, has to speed up his process because of blitzes and stuff. Now, like I said, Joe Burrow, this is the reason that I'm not trading up for any quarterback in this draft. Joe Burrow is a 5-year player. He had 3 years at Ohio, 2 years at LSU. Last year, he had an all right year last year. Wasn't great, wasn't spectacular. Then all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why? What happened from 2018 to 2019? Also, the first 3 years when you were at Ohio State. That's the thing that you're a 1-year wonder. Could he have, if he did this his second year in college, could he have produced it another year? We'll never know. But it's the same thing to his hip. Will Joe Burrow become the next best thing, 15 years of greatness, or will he phase out because he was a 1-year wonder running in that style at LSU with the team around him? We don't know. So that's my thought process. Now, Joe Burrow is going number 1. He's going to Cincinnati, and if he doesn't, he's going to shake up the draft. If Cincinnati at 1 takes Chase Young, they are going to incredibly shake up the draft, and it will be absolutely craziness. But I honestly think Joe Burrow is going number 1 to Cincinnati. If not, if he doesn't go number 1, then all of a sudden there's a lot of trades going to be happening. He could potentially end up going to Miami at 5, or a player that the Dolphins could covet, like a Simmons, could fall to 5. But like I said, that's my list. You got Burrow 1, Tua 2, Herbert 3, and Jordan Love number 4. Be sure to comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your guys 4 to 1. Hey, you might think that Jalen Hurts is better than Jordan Love. You might think that Fromm should be in there. Eason should be in there. Comment below. Let me know. Again, this is my opinion. These are my pros, my cons. This is what I think of my top quarterbacks. But again, I'm not in the mindset of trading up to get these quarterbacks because they all have something that I just would prefer to use my draft picks in other areas so we can continue to build this franchise. So be sure to comment below. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm going to get to the answer of the trivia before we get to comment of the day. And the answer to who posted 47 tackles to lead the Dolphins defensive line in that category, it's Ndamukong Suh. And Ndamukong Suh had 47 tackles and led the defensive line in tackles. Now let's get to comment of the day. Now, this comment of the day is a roundabout comment of the day. I've had a ton of you guys hit me up on Twitter, comment it below, talking about Deshaun Watson. Connor Davis actually messaged me and said, hey, hashtag comment of the day. Would you trade multiple firsts for Deshaun Watson? Also, there's a ton of people out there, even on Facebook, even in the the pages, all that stuff. Talk about Cam Newton. Hey, the Dolphins should go after Cam Newton. So I'm going to address both of them in comment of the day. So when it comes to Deshaun Watson, there's the whole thing about, they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins and, they're doing this and they're doing that. And Deshaun Watson's like, what is going on? And maybe Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be with the Houston Texans anymore. So would the Dolphins potentially want to trade for Deshaun Watson? Hey, Doug, would you want to give up multiple first-round picks for Deshaun Watson? I don't know if I'm giving up multiple first-round picks. I don't know if I'm giving the Texans back their first-round picks because you messed up by trading it to us. Because now your quarterback could be disgruntled. He could not be disgruntled because also a lot of rumors come out like the Jadeveon Clowney one and now this one where the players now come out and say, what are you guys talking about? But if your player's unhappy, they're going to want to get out or they're not going to want to play. So I'm not giving you back your first. We'll give you something else. I'll give you a second. I'll give you 2 seconds. And we'll take Deshaun Watson because then eventually we're going to have to pay him because he's still on his rookie contract. We're going to eventually have to pay the man. We're not going to have him for his full rookie year, so we're not going to give you our first because we're eventually going to have to pay him. So I'm not giving my first, but I would maybe talk to Bill O'Brien about, hey, what do you want for Deshaun Watson? And see what he says because we already swindled him once, getting 2 firsts out of him, and it seems like the Texans are destined for some reason to be bad next year and watch the Miami Dolphins get the first overall pick next year and then use that to trade back or do whatever they want. Super excited. Cam Newton, real quick. A lot of you guys are asking me, and I see it a lot on the Facebook Dolphin pages and all that stuff. Hey, the Dolphins should go after Cam Newton. It makes no sense. If the Dolphins wanted to go after Cam Newton, if the Dolphins wanted to bring in a different veteran quarterback, they would not have kept Fitz on the team. Fitz signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with incentives. Last year, I think he got his incentives. He made about $8 million. This year, he's going to do to make about $5 million. You're going to bring in a Cam Newton who's going to want about $10 to $12 million a year. And the Dolphins, after they pay their free agents, after they pay their draft picks, are only going to have about 15, 16, 17, roughly million in cap space. And they want to take that into the season just in case something happens. So Cam Newton's not going to sign with the Dolphins. It's the same thing like I heard with Tom Brady. Hey, we should sign Tom Brady. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to happen. But thank you guys so much for commenting below. Like I said before, be sure to comment below. Let me know what you think about my top prospects, my breakdowns of them, my pluses, my minuses. If I missed anything, comment below. Let me know. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter, you guys start following me on Twitter. I have great interactions with you guys on Twitter. So thank you guys so much for that. But if you haven't yet, be sure to check that out. Also my Instagram. Be sure to check that out and follow me there. Check out the Bit Boys. I got some great content coming out with the Bit Boys. A video came out yesterday for Resident Evil 2. I was cracking up while editing it. Check it out if you guys like it. Hit that subscribe button. I'll have it at the end of this video. I'll have it pop up over here at the end of the video, so be sure to check that out. Let me know what you guys think. Give this video a thumbs up because you like this series. Next, I'm doing running backs, and then I'm doing wide receivers, tight ends. I do the offense. I do the whole thing. I break down my top prospects. Is it going to always be 4? No, it might be 5. But I break down my top prospects of each of the positions in the draft, not only if the Dolphins need them or not, because the Dolphins necessarily don't need a wide receiver, but I'll still break down the top 4 prospects of that draft position. So give this video a thumbs up because you like the series and you like the content. Be sure to check out DolphsTalk.com. I actually just did a podcast with them. That came out yesterday. Be sure to go over, check that out, check it out. We talked about a ton of Dolphin stuff, so be sure to check them out. Also, subscribe if you haven't yet. We broke 10,000. I'm working on doing a giveaway to thank you guys for helping me break 10,000. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. I got a lot planned. Like I said, I got this whole series. We got the draft. I do training camp, OTAs, recaps. I got so much planned. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you can see when the videos break and when I go live. But other than that, I will see you guys probably Friday or Saturday with my next video. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.